So a brand new interview with President Trump has just revealed what looks like a dramatic and, maybe even risky new strategy for Venezuela. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what this plan is, how it's landing back in Washington, and how it all connects to a much bigger global game involving Russia and the war in Ukraine.
And it really all kicks off with this bombshell of a statement. When the president was asked how long the U.S. might be controlling Venezuela's oil, his answer was incredibly direct. It could be for years. I mean, that one quote signals a much more aggressive and long-term foreign policy than anything we've really seen before.
So what is the actual plan here, right? Is this just the president talking off the cuff, or does it reflect a real thought-out strategy? Well, it turns out, according to officials, this is very much the plan.
And yeah, the president's comment, it isn't just talk. White House sources are confirming that there's no precise timeline for this whole operation. The word that keeps getting used, both inside the White House and on Capitol Hill, is indefinitely. The goal seems crystal clear: control Venezuela's oil for the foreseeable future. This control also comes with a pretty specific list of demands. First, Venezuela has to completely cut all its economic ties with countries like Russia, China, and Iran. Second, 100% of its oil sales have to go exclusively through the United States. And finally, the U.S. is expecting total cooperation from the current interim government.
And I want to be clear, this is not just a threat. In just the last 24 hours, the U.S. has physically seized 2 oil tankers connected to Venezuela. Just one of them was carrying 2 million barrels of crude. So this is the strategy in action, taking direct control of the country's main resource.
But, as these moves are being made on the world stage, the reaction back in Washington is, well, it's deeply divided. It's splitting lawmakers not just along party lines, but even within the parties themselves.
After a series of classified briefings, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are walking out asking the same fundamental question: what's the endgame here? Where is this all supposed to be going? And this slide just perfectly captures that split. On one side, you've got lawmakers coming out of these secret briefings saying things like, "I hear no strategy, there's been no planning." But on the other side, when the administration gets asked if there's a clear endgame, the answer is a very confident, "I do. It's like the two sides are living in completely different realities. So what's really driving all this concern? Well, critics are worried about getting stuck in a protracted intervention that doesn't have a clear legal basis. And they say the administration just won't answer basic questions about what happens next. This frustration got so high that one Democratic senator from Connecticut just came out and called the plan simply insane. Now, all this concern is bubbling up into a major test of wills in Congress. The Senate is getting ready to vote on a war powers resolution. This is a big deal. It's a measure designed to basically take back Congress's authority over using military force. If it passes, it would try to block any more military action in Venezuela unless Congress explicitly signs off on it.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This strategy isn't just about Venezuela. It seems to be about sending a message to the entire region. And this fascinating phone call that happened in the middle of the president's interview, it gives us a perfect window into this tactic.
Okay, so get this. The president had just recently and very publicly called the leader of neighboring Colombia a sick man. Then, right in the middle of this interview, he stops everything to take an hour-long phone call with that exact same leader. According to the New York Times, that call seemed to just completely erase any threat of U.S. action against Colombia. The Colombian leader? He blinked.
And here's why that phone call is so important. The president basically indicated that he believes the aggressive moves in Venezuela have intimidated other leaders in the region, forcing them to, quote, fall in line. It's a pretty clear signal, right? Cooperate or you could be next.
But the reach of this strategy goes way, way beyond the Western Hemisphere, because seizing those oil tankers, it turns out it's not just about Venezuela's oil. It's about gaining leverage over Russia.
Yeah, according to analysts, this is a really calculated move to get the upper hand on Russia. By controlling this oil supply and pressuring other nations, the U.S. is directly hitting the network that supports Russia's economy and, by extension, its war in Ukraine.
And now there's a new tool to really turn up the heat. A bipartisan sanctions bill, which the president has reportedly given the green light to, is designed to give him, quote, tremendous leverage. It lets him punish any country, think China or India, that's buying up cheap Russian oil and basically financing Putin's war machine.
So, when you start to put all these pieces together, the indefinite timeline in Venezuela, the intimidation of neighbors, the leverage against Russia, it all starts to look like a classic and pretty risky foreign policy doctrine.
And that doctrine has a name.
It's called the madman theory, and this slide lays it out perfectly. The whole idea is to act so unpredictable, so volatile, that your opponents, and maybe even your friends, start to believe you're capable of absolutely anything. And that forces them to be extra careful and often give you what you want just to avoid provoking.
And look, this isn't just some theory from a political science textbook. One Trump official straight up described using this tactic in negotiations. They said they'd go into a room with foreign leaders and say, you know, I'm the reasonable one. You don't know what he might do. It literally turns the president's unpredictability into a negotiating tool.
And so that really leaves us with the central question, doesn't it? Is this a cohesive, calculated strategy that's just using unpredictability as a tool to get what it wants? Or is it a series of really high-stakes gambles that could easily spin out of control? I guess, as the president himself said, only time will tell.